Time to get to work on the aft section. But first we have a few things to go over.
Just some very quick points of order. So we can see here with the aft section, got our power for the struts and the main power coming in from the engineering hull. We essentially need to do three things. We need to enlarge the strut wire holes. As previously done, we drilled in this single hole. However, if I want the nacelles to be able to rise into the upright position, I need to make them more extended like they are here, which is just a very simple case of just filing out some more space for the wire to travel up. This does mean that once they're in position, the top section is going to have a tiny amount of hole visible, but it's a compromise that I'm willing to make. The second thing we need to do is cut the engineering slot, which is literally just filing out that little black slot there. I was supposed to do that before I primed it, but I forgot. And then the third thing we do is add in the board. This board will have the resistors for the red and green LEDs, and just bring all the power from the nacelles together in a neat fashion. This shouldn't take more than a couple of videos, hopefully. Starting off with adding in the extended holes for the wires, I'm just going to take this circular file and just carve out that circular piece, so just back and forth action. It'll take a little bit of working, but just if you just increase the angle of the tool as you work, eventually you'll get to that sweet 90-degree spot. You basically want to fire it into a hole that reaches to the center of the top. As you can see here, it basically is along that center line. That is at its highest peak. Along with that, it's worth noting, when joining the struts together, you want to make sure that your wires are sitting in front of these little sprue marks. It's okay if they're not, because you can just push the wire through, but it needs to be in this forward position the way I've drilled the holes. If your holes are further back, then obviously you can have them back, but I want as much pin in there as possible for stability. With that done, our next task is to cut out this rear hole. Cutting out the rear hole uses practically the same procedure we've been using all along, where we're just going to mark it out, use the scalpel, cut down the plastic, and then begin clearing material. Once you've got that going, I'm going to take a flat file and that'll really get the job done. There we are, nice and easy, and certainly more than enough space for the cables going out to the engineering hull. Before we do the boards, we need to consider how we're going to be laying this out. Naturally, we're going to have 12 volt in and a pair of 12 volt out and minus 12 volt in the minus 555 circuit. However, we also need a couple of resistors going off. We need one for green and one for red, each resistor being a slightly different value. Also off that 12 volt rail, we need to have one that goes off to the left nacelle and one that comes off to the right nacelle. We need a 5 volt return for each nacelle. We need a 12 volt return and a 555 return for each nacelle, giving us our 3 cables, and then 2 555 returns for the 2 LEDs inside this aft section. So it looks like our most efficient design may be to have a board that is 5 wide, 12 volts in, our pair of resistors jumping deeper in to 5, 2 12 volt outs for the nacelles, our 12 volt return and the 12 volt for each of the nacelles, our 555 return for each of the nacelles, and for the lights in the aft section, and then a resisted output for one side and a resisted output for the other side, which means in fact this resistor will jump to this 4th point rather than the 5th, and we just need to remember to put a break into the board along there, which gives us a 5x4 board, which I think will be more than neat enough. And that'll have to do it for now, as I'm out of time. But next time we'll get all the LEDs soldered in, get some lights going, and we might even get as far as sticking this thing together. Maybe 3 videos, that's my estimation. But until next time, I'm Raven, and that's all from the desk.